Hi, everybody. Welcome to the DRF Breeding Report. Dan Illman here with Nicole Russo. And this week we're going to talk about some early three-year-old contenders for the Kentucky Derby, some intriguing winners of recent prep races. And Nicole, way back on January the 16th, Uncontested, with a breakthrough performance in the Smarty Jones Stakes, a $150,000 race. We're going to take a look at the stretch run of the Smarty Jones. Uncontested, a brilliant winner over a sealed, sloppy one-mile racetrack. But at the end of the day, does he really want to go a mile and a quarter in the Derby?
I'm really not sure. I've got some questions in my mind about how he's going to continue to develop. He's by Tiz Wonderful, who is a very good young horse. Tiz Wonderful, a son of Tiz now, who, of course, is a very good sire and is starting to emerge with some of his sons at studs, such as Gemologist. But most of Tiz Wonderful's runners have really been early types. He does have some older horses who have trained on well, such as Wonder Gale, the Marvelous, but, for the most part, he's had really good two-year-olds, really brilliant horses who haven't necessarily trained on and matured.
I agree. You're right. Tiz Wonderful was a very precocious two-year-old trained by Steve Asmussen, winner first time out at Saratoga. Then he won the Grade 2 Kentucky Jockey Club at Churchill Downs with a 101 Beyer speed figure. Not too shabby for a two-year-old going a mile and a 16th. But as a sire, I agree 100% with you. He gets a lot of precocious, speedy miler types, and you have to be a little bit concerned that maybe Uncontested fits the bill. Yes, he's been brilliant in 2 out of his 3 wins, won a maiden score at Keeneland in his debut with an 89 Beyer, and last time out, one of the fastest races that any of these 3-year-olds have put up, a 96 in the Smarty Jones. But I think you have to be a little bit careful. So far, his big race came over a sealed, sloppy track against a suspect field. But looking at this female family, there's at least a little bit more hope. A lot of milers, mile and a 16th types, but at least a couple of routers.
Yeah, a little bit of, kind of a middle distance female family down there. His dam Galileo Star, daughter of Derby winner Lily T, didn't debut until age 4 and then won her debut. She was a later developing horse. She's been a consistent broodmare. She's got 7 winners from 8 starters. A lot of her runners have kind of followed in her footsteps as later developers, scoring their wins at age 3, age 4, and then running for a few seasons. So I find it very interesting that her 2 best foals broke the pattern by being earlier developing. She's already the dam of Solitary Ranger, who won the Arlington, Washington Futurity, as well as the Battaglia Memorial and Synthetic early his 3-year-old year. And now she's got Uncontested, a stakes winner early in his 3-year-old year, and actually a May foal. So if you're looking for hope for Uncontested, there might be a little bit of upside in his development there.
Dam's a half-sister to June's Reward, who was a real late-running, long-striding router, won the California Cup Classic at a mile and an 1/8 way back in the day over one of my favorites, Flying Continental. The Dam's also a half to a stakes-winning sprinter at Turf Paradise. Getting back to Tiz Wonderful really quickly, looking at the new Beyer-Sire standings on DRF.com, I did notice that Tiz Wonderful, again, the data seems to fit the reputation. This horse has not had an older router with a 100 Beyer speed figure, didn't have one in 2016, so I think it is fair to be dubious about Uncontested. A very brilliant horse. Wayne Catalano's done a great job, but distance might not be his friend.
Yeah, and certainly good horses can break through the expectations that are set out for them. Look at the example of the newly retired California Chrome. I mean, nobody thought he would develop into what he developed into, but yeah, fair to be fairly skeptical about Uncontested, at least from a pedigree standpoint.
Now, thus far, Uncontested has been very, very fast. Our next 3-year-old contender we're going to talk about, not as fast, at least right now, on the Beyer speed figure scale. That's Guest Suite. But boy, does Guest Suite have a pedigree that seems to indicate Derby distance, no problem.
My gosh, you look at this horse's female family and you feel bad for his connections that he's a gelding, because there's a world of class down in that side of the pedigree. He's out of a winning Ghost Sapper mare, which is interesting, as Ghost Sapper is so brilliant. It's starting to emerge as a broodmare sire. One of his daughters produced the newly minted champion Dreyfong. When you go back, Guest Suite's 3rd dam is the Great Broodmare Weekend Surprise, whose sons include APND, winner of the Belmont and Classic, and just such an influential sire. She also produced Summer Squall, who won the Preakness and was also a classic-producing sire. So many other stakes horses coming out of this family. Court Vision, Breeders' Cup Mile winner. European champion Duke of Marmalade, classic winner, ruler of the world, just one of the classiest families in the stud book.
You're absolutely right. Nothing but class and distance on the bottom of this pedigree. And as we watch Guest Suite splash home in the mud in the Grade 3 Lecomte at the Fairgrounds on January the 21st, we have to talk about his sire, Quality Road, a 3-time Grade 1 stakes winner at 9 furlongs. Brilliant, a little bit quirky, however. He had a breakout season in 2016 as a stallion.
Yeah, Quality Road, one of just 3 American sires who had multiple 2-year-old Grade 1 winners last year. One of those was Klimt, who is not going to be pointed to the Kentucky Derby. He's going through a little bit of a growth spurt, getting a freshening. And he's also got Abel Tasman, who won the Starlet toward the end of the season. So a couple of 2-year-old Grade 1 winners for Quality Road, who's quietly been a very good 2-year-old sire with the likes of Hootenanny, Blofeld. But again, I'd like to see some of these train on at 3. He seems to kind of be skipping that part of the curve there.
Did have a couple of nice older horses. Grade 1 winner Illuminant won the Gamely at 1 1/8 on the turf. Grade 2 stakes winner Frank Conversation. He won the El Camino Real Derby earlier in his 3-year-old season over the Tapeta at Golden Gate, but then won that Grade 2 stakes race on turf. And we were talking before we came on the air, and you think Quality Road might be sort of a hidden turf stallion down the road?
Yeah, Quality Road, yeah, son of elusive Quality, who can throw a good turf horse. Quality Road never ran on turf, but he's thrown some very good horses on that surface, such as Hootenanny, such as Illuminant. And then if you look at Guest Suite's female family, again, he's got a lot of European class underneath there. I think it would be very interesting to see this horse on the turf down the line if, for some reason, the Classics trail doesn't work out.
So lots of options for Mr. Farish, trainer Neil Howard. But as of right now, uncontested, the performance on the track, he's got the fast races. But would you agree that maybe Guest Suite is the most upside potential and is more of a true Derby horse from a pedigree standpoint?
As more of a true classic horse, yes, absolutely. I think the sky is the limit for him in terms of distance, and he has the potential to really be that breakout horse, 4 lanes on sire Quality Road.
Both of these horses do have one thing in common. They've both been beaten by a very promising runner in his own right, McCracken, who will make his 3-year-old debut in the Sam F. Davis Stakes at Tampa Bay Downs in a few weeks. We'll probably be talking a lot more about McCracken. But next week on the DRF Breeding Report, we'll have more Kentucky Derby pedigree profiles because we'll have the winners of the Holy Bull Stakes at Gulfstream Park, the Robert B. Lewis Stakes at Santa Anita, and, of course, the Withers Stakes at Aqueduct to discuss. Next week, we'll talk about those 3 races. For Nicole Russo, I'm Dan Illman. Remember, for the latest thoroughbred breeding news, head over to Twitter at DRF Breeding. We'll see you next week.